Ever since the pandemic hit the world, changes came in almost all aspects of human life. From our social habits to office norms, so much has altered in the last 2 years. Biomedical science and the healthcare sector faced unprecedented challenges. We responded to them, adapted to the evolving realities, and embraced the new wind of change in the realm of vaccinology. Although this is not the only sector of the healthcare industry that has evolved and grown under the tremendous pressure of the pandemic. We are talking about the world of rapid diagnostic tests, an industry that witnessed a 100% growth in overall production capacity between October 2020 and April 2021. Rapid diagnostic tests are easy-to-use tests that provide quick results. Unlike most standard tests, which have to be sent to a lab, rapid tests are done by the users themselves or at a point of care such as a local drugstore. Surely, all of us have used a rapid diagnostic test for detection of COVID at least once in recent times. The pandemic may have popularized such tests, but it is not the only driving factor shaping their future. The dynamics of the global rapid diagnostic test market are believed to be driven by several factors such as the rising prevalence of chronic infectious diseases, growing awareness regarding early diagnostic procedures, and a growing geriatric population needing care. It is estimated that the global RDT market will stand at $72 billion by the year 2027. In Europe alone, developments were apparent. The market for RDTs is predicted to reach almost $19 billion by 2029. Could this booming industry emerge as a helping tool for vaccination? At different points of our lives, we receive various vaccines to be protected against diseases. Each of us has our own vaccine history. However, the level of protection tends to wane over time. That's why for certain vaccines we need a boost. On top of that, often, one is required to take a vaccine before events such as joining an occupation or traveling abroad. This often makes people think, am I still protected? Do I need another booster? There is an unmet need to solve such dilemmas and to ensure that people get their vaccine jabs at the right time when they need it. We set out to find a solution and wondered, could a one-of-a-kind rapid diagnostic test help people manage their vaccination needs? Let's dive deep to find an answer. We launched a survey through social media and asked the participants, would you get a COVID-19 booster in the future? 70% of our respondents said yes. Is COVID-19 the only disease that needs boosters? 70% of participants know that more vaccines need boosters. When we asked about the qualities they desire in an RDT for vaccination, the most frequent features participants suggested were reliability, cost-effectiveness, and ease of use. When we proposed to survey respondents a rapid test that could tell them the level of protection against a certain disease, almost 60% of respondents expressed interest in using it.
For certain infectious diseases, there is a defined correlate of protection. If our immunity levels go below a defined threshold, we are not protected anymore. This brings us to the concept of RaDiaVac, Rapid Diagnostic Test for Vaccination. Thanks to RaDiaVac, we will know if we are still above the threshold or if we need a new booster. This is what makes RaDiaVac different from other RDTs on the market. They are used to determine whether a person has the disease, while RaDiaVac will be used to verify if the person is still protected from the previous vaccination. RaDiaVac is a point-of-care test and it's easy to use. The user visits a RaDiaVac point pharmacy near him. The pharmacist pricks a finger to collect a little blood sample. The pharmacist puts it into a pocket luminometer like the one made by Hygiena. The user waits for 30 minutes. RaDiaVac generates the exact level of antibodies the user has and based on this gives a verdict. Now let's dive deeper into RaDiaVac. As a reporter, we will use a split luciferase system like the one described by Promega, and that is based on the luminescent enzyme they developed, the nanoluc. This luciferase produces a luminescent signal with emission spectra of 460 nanometers. It is small, soluble, ATP independent. It uses furimazine as a substrate. It is brighter than natural luciferase and has low background activity. When a large and small nanoluc interact, light is produced. Our assay has three core elements: large nanoluc fused with a recombinant antigen of our disease of interest, small nanoluc linked to protein G, a protein with high affinity towards immunoglobulin G, desired immunoglobulin G in user's serum. Let's see how these three elements interact to make RaDiaVac work. The RaDiaVac test kit will have a reaction tube coated with antigen linked to a large nanoluc. We collect a few drops of the user's blood here. If the user has antibodies against our pathogen of interest, then antibody binds the antigen in the tube. After incubation, washing is done with a wash buffer. We then add the reaction mix containing protein G and furimazine. Protein G interacts with the antibody and brings the large and the small parts of nanoluc close together. When nanoluc reacts to its substrate furimazine, furimamide is produced and light is emitted. The luminometer analyzes the light emitted by luciferase and presents the result in terms of the relative luminescent units produced, which corresponds to a specific concentration of antibodies. The reader will give one of the three verdicts. You are not protected, you are protected, you are going below the threshold of protection. To make RaDiaVac work, the large and the small nanoluc parts should come close together only when the antigen-antibody reaction has taken place. How much affinity should large and small nanoluc have? We cannot have high affinity nanoluc components, as they would lead to false positives. We cannot also afford to have low affinity nanoluc that can hinder the final reaction and light emission. With the properly chosen small nanoluc, we can achieve the right affinity. We also needed protein linkers to bind the G protein to small nanoluc and the antigen to large nanoluc. A 3D model that we created showed us that the linker should be between 5 to 10 nanometers. As an example, we chose this linker as it is of the right size, flexible, and does not create secondary structures. Now that we have the test, which vaccine preventable diseases are we going to use it for? The ideal target pathogen needs to have an established correlate of protection that RaDiaVac can assess. Can produce new variants making it difficult to retain vaccine protection. The vaccine against which is expensive and requires booster doses, driving people towards booster fatigue. The vaccines that fulfilled these criteria are rabies. Rabies vaccine has an established correlate of protection. Its immunity starts waning after 2 years and frequently needs booster doses. It is a travel requirement for some countries and is quite expensive. Japanese encephalitis virus also has a clear correlate and does not confer lifelong immunity. Again, this is a mandatory vaccine for certain destinations and is costly to purchase. The same is the case with tick-borne encephalitis vaccines. We can measure a clear correlate. There is waning immunity even after 3 doses. It is required to travel in some places of the world, and each dose is expensive. SARS-CoV-2 is also an ideal candidate because there is a clear correlate of protection. People need boosters to keep being immune, and there is less efficient cross-protection among variants. As for antigens, we picked glycoprotein antigen for rabies, receptor binding domain or spike protein of the dominant circulating strain of SARS-CoV-2, E protein for tick-borne encephalitis and Japanese encephalitis. Like every test, our test also has experimental controls, and we have 4 possibilities. A blank reaction tube containing an antigen linked to large nanoluke, blank reaction tube containing an antigen linked to large nanoluke and user's blood, reaction mix with all the reagents but without the blood sample, allowing us to measure and eliminate the background activity. Reaction mix with known concentration of antibodies as our positive or checking control to set the luminometer.
RaDiaVac is a budding idea, and like every innovation, it will face some potential challenges. For example, ensuring that the pharmacists collect the exact volume of blood could be tricky.
Secondly, there could be some interference caused by using whole blood.
Also, we need to choose correct controls. Another challenge could be optimizing sensitivity and specificity of RaDiaVac, because false positive results may cause distress, and false negative results may give an undue sense of security. The manufacturing cost of RaDiaVac cannot be completely determined. Hence, a solid price estimate couldn't be made at this point. There will be a strong competition with other RTT manufacturers that are also working on the same ideology. Finally, there could be possible ethical dilemmas related to medical opinions and RTTs. Using RaDiaVac should not discourage users from seeking educated medical opinions from doctors when needed. Looking at the bright side, we could imagine the future prospects of RaDiaVac. First, we need to develop and optimize the prototype. Then, we could adapt RaDiaVac for more vaccine-preventable infections based on our Blue Ocean strategy. This signifies that we are focusing on new markets rather than existing markets. Pandemics are here to stay, so are dilemmas regarding the right time to take vaccines and challenges such as booster fatigue. A personalized assay, such as RaDiaVac, is the need of the hour, and it has a world of future prospects to deliver. Just a leap of faith and lots of science.